Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our meeting, and I think we're ready to start. So, Mr. Weber, if we could have a roll call, please.
Mr. Ballard.
Here.
Mr. Demakia. Mr. Smith.
Present.
Mr. Sturgill.
Here.
And Mr. Williams.
Here.
Carried. And by the way, this is for the board meeting of Wednesday, May 25th, 2016.
This time, we have a pledge. Who's right for the pledge? Yep. Megan.
Okay, tonight we will have a student from Toni Morrison Elementary School who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, Trinity Gunder. Trinity is a 4th grade student and is the daughter of Megan Gunder. She has 2 sisters, Tatiana, Asia, and 1 brother, LeVar. Trinity is the president of our student council, plays basketball for the Lorain Lady Titans and softball for the Lorain Girls Softball Summer League. She is also a member of the Big Brothers Big Sisters program for Lorain County. After the pledge, Trinity will be speaking on leadership. I, Mrs. Megan Young, the principal of Toni Morrison, along with her student council representatives from Toni Morrison, Ms. Rhea and Ms. Bucks, are here to support her tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hello, my name is Trinity Gunder. I am 10 years old and in the 4th grade at Toni Morrison Elementary. While attending Toni Morrison, I participate in the student council. I was honored to be elected as student council president by the current students of Toni Morrison. My roles as president are the following: help run meetings, help run after-school events with my advisors, and come up with ideas for our school. Being president helps me be a great leader because I am a role to other student council members, students, and to the school. I often act as an example on how to behave in class. I encourage the younger students to do great, and I follow those school rules. I keep my grades up while participating in sports. Toni Morrison had their first talent show, which I hosted. Leading the talent show helped me with my leadership skills, speaking skills, and my confidence. In my opinion, I think all schools should have student council because it will teach other students to be a great role model and volunteer like it has taught me. I enjoyed learning about leadership because it will help me in the future in my career. Thank you for this opportunity.
Okay, and I would like to present Trinity with a certificate of appreciation. If you could come up. This certificate is awarded to Trinity Gunder for your active participation leading the audience with the Pledge of Allegiance at a Lorain City Schools Board of Education meeting. Okay, congratulations. Good job.
Okay, Trinity, did you want to introduce Mom?
Nope. Yep.
Trinity?
This is Megan Gunder. All right.
You talked about being able to be spoken and confidence and all that public speaking stuff, and you're hiding behind the podium. There you go. Nice job, Trinity. Thank you very much.
Very nice.
You taking a picture with her?
What?
Take a picture?
Picture with the board.
Picture with the board.
Get your picture taken with us?
Are there any other visitors to be recognized? Then we would entertain the first hearing of the public. If anyone would like to address the board, we'd extend you 3 minutes to come and present your information to us. And if there are none, then I would like a motion to go into executive session for
items A2 employment, A7 compensation, A8 investigation of charges and complaints, B to consider the purchase of property for the public purposes or for the sale of property at competitive bidding, C conferences with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are subject of pending or imminent court action, D preparation for conducting or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions for public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment, and E, matters required to be kept confidential by federal law or rules or state statute.
So moved. Support.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
And Mr. Williams?
Yes. We do not expect to be out long, so we will return hopefully relatively shortly and finish with the rest of the meeting. You are welcome to
But
stay
it's
here.
also safe if you want to sneak out. For
Yeah.
folks at the front who are looking at this.
Yes.
Okay, we're back in at 7:14. Back in public session.
At this time, we have a motion for the approval of the signed minutes. from
So
May 7th.
move.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes. Any old business for discussion? On to report and recommendations of the treasurer. Mr. Weber.
A couple quick notes before I went, about a 5 or 10 minute presentation of the 5-year forecast. You'll see in your packet board, you now, because of House Bill 2, have to get the financial present statements that I give to the Lorain Digital Academy Board. You'll see that as FYI for you. It's something new you guys will get every month. And there's also some things on the agenda for approval that are related to the Digital Academy because of House Bill 2, some of those other things. They're routine things, just I want you to know that. Okay. Okay, the 5-year forecast is a twice-a-year process for the state of Ohio, and I'm not going to go over every single line on here. I'm not going to do that, but it looks like this. Okay, it'll be on our website tomorrow. In the Ohio Department of Education website also. It's a big checkbook for school districts. Money comes in and money goes out, and it has to get monitored. And it has to go out for these 5 years. Okay. There's also a bunch of assumptions that looks like that. There's 22 pages of assumptions that'll be on the website too, all those things, which a lot of detail on there. So, but just in general, what I want to do is go over. Get some glasses on. A quick slideshow of 5-year forecast, and this is the May submission. There's also one in October. Let's see if this thing works. Okay. So the key process inputs are, this is a general fund forecast. It has nothing to do with the state or federal grants. There are literally hundreds of assumptions built into the models that go out to 5 years. One of the first steps is talking to Dr. Graham about some of his thoughts about the future district needs, and also we talked to the leadership team a couple of times regarding the details for next year and the years after. The Ohio Department of Education has next year's revenue estimate in a simulation that I put into the model. I talked to Lorain City Schools, the Health Trust actuary, to get his recommendation for how the health trust cost will do next 3 or 4 or 5 years. Lorain County Auditor has the real estate property tax information. I've looked at the collective bargaining agreements to see what kind of salary and wage information is in there to feed the forecast. The board policy is information for salaries and wages. There's historical trending I look at to see how we've done in the past, how it would affect the future. I run it by my treasurer's office team for reasonability. And some of the key assumptions are the real estate revenue is basically flat in here, going out until 2020. The state foundation revenue, I did put in the next year's simulation from the Ohio Department of Education. After that, it's held flat. because that'll be a new binding budget, so it's a conservative outlook, and we'll get to that in just a second. The salaries and wages are per the CBA provisions of the collective bargaining agreements, and there's also additions of personnel in selected areas in that forecast. Health insurance costs, I have the assumption of growing 7% per year. The purchase services includes additional projects by the leadership team, and I kept in that $1.5 million increase of cost a year for community schools, open enrollment, and voucher programs. I do not know what's going to happen. It's just an assumption I put in the last couple of years. Supplies and materials, I put in some pretty big chunks of money for replenishment of textbooks and those kinds of materials. Capital outlay has the new administration building in there. Debt service, good news story, is falling off after next year. You'll see it falling off in the forecast. Athletics has some new additional budgets in there for sports for the Southview Middle School, soccer, cross country, golf, that kind of thing. So how it looks, the bottom line is as you can see, for this year I'm projecting any balance of $7.1 million, 6.5 for next year, 4.8, down to 200,000, and we're negative in 1920. But here's how we can help with that issue. And we've seen this before, in that's the 5-year forecast as it stands today, this bottom line over here. You can see where I built in on my laser pointer. Look at that. All right. So I did put in, next year already has, the Ohio Department of Education already gave me next year's charter school assumptions. So that increase plus 837,000 is the plus $1.5 million. You can see how I put the $1.5 million increases in here, and here's the health insurance costs. So what would happen if, and by the way, here's the new binding budget growth, which is 0. So what happens, the new binding budget comes in, and let's say, and for a fact, we have been increasing about $5 to $6 million a year from the state. Let's say I put in $2 million growth for next budget. So that's the new binding budget assumption that comes in a couple $1 million higher than what it is today. May or may not happen, we don't know. That would be about 1/3 of what their growth has been. It's conservative, okay? And what if, go back to our charter school over and voucher cost growth, which has been really reduced down the last couple of years. Let's say instead of $1.5 million a year, let's say it grows cost $1 million a year. As you can see, with those assumptions in there, which are not far-fetched, we look pretty good in 1920. Okay, so that could happen. Now we're not going to have a new binding budget until next year from now. Okay, we won't have that. But we're already seeing the cost growth coming down for those charter schools, open enrollment and vouchers. I think this is a very possible forecast as it goes out for the years. So I built some conservative estimates in here. And Dr. Graham, I talked about that several times, but I think that the outlook is pretty positive. That's all I was going to do unless you have some questions about it.
You had, one of your assumptions was that the emergency 7-year levy would renew.
Yes, that's a good question.
Would it really have mattered?
Yes.
Because you usually don't make predictions or forecasting a levy to renew. I thought maybe it was because by the time the money ran out, it would be beyond the forecast year anyway.
It hits us in a very final year, and the forecasting process does allow you to put, I take it out on this line and that line and that line, but I put it back in at the bottom. I put it back in over here. It only affects that last year. It's $1.7 million. It's a half-year impact
because we would still get half of 2019 and 2020, right?
Right. Now, if you look at the 2021, you'll see a fuller impact down here. So we got to think about that. We're 3 years out from renewal levy for that when we passed back in 2020.
Right.
We're 3 years out. So we have some nice spacing
Right.
between the renewals that we have over
Well,
here.
we have one the next year too, I believe.
Well, we just passed the one, it'll be 2021 would be the one, it'd be the 2021.
We passed it in 2015, so.
But we passed it in 2015, but it was like a 2016.
I know that.
Early, 2 months early.
We put it on as soon as we could.
So it really passed technically in 2016,
Right.
and 5 years, 2021 would be the next window.
They could put it on in 2020.
They could,
In
that is
November.
true, right.
But it wouldn't affect the forecast in any way, no matter what happens.
What do you mean it wouldn't affect it?
Even if it didn't renew in 2021, it would not affect this forecast. Because.
Right, it's too far out.
Too far out, right,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Now, in October, another year gets tacked on, and Josh Hill has to put it in there. Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay, so we're looking good, I think, and any other questions about that?
No. And,
One projection, can you change just, you assumed an increase from the state, modest. What if we were just flat?
Flat on this scenario with the charge pool like it is, takes us to, we're still in the red, and now this is to come down from $1 million to $1 million bucks.
Right.
But we're better in 1819, but we're still in the red in 1920.
Okay.
But the next biennium budget will be still with Kasich. Right?
I'm assuming he won't get elected president, yes.
No,
Yeah.
well, he's not running right now, but assuming he's not.
Right,
He
yes.
could be the dark horse candidate in Cleveland. You see where the federal government gave Cleveland $50 million for security of the, wow.
No, we didn't see that deal, because that wasn't part of this, or,
But in any
that was part of the
case,
school board meeting.
I would just, Kasich has been very favorable to us.
Yes, he has.
And I would assume that would, if he's still governor next year, he would do the same in the next biennial. So I think you're probably okay with what you've done there.
His first pass will come out in January, February, only a few months from now. So,
Yeah, okay.
Could that be it?
Okay, any other questions about the 5-year forecast?
Thank you.
We good?
Any other questions, gentlemen?
And again, from a superintendent's perspective, I really appreciate the process Dale's followed in doing the 5-year forecast. Very inclusive. He's incredible. I refer to Dale as aggressively conservative, but again, completely appropriate. But it's been a great process to go through. So, thanks, Dale.
And I want to thank Mr. Evans for the laser pointer. Okay, so I would recommend for approval items 8.01 through 8.10.
So moved. Support.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sturgill,
Yes.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
and Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Thank you, that's all I have, gentlemen.
Thank you. And now on to report and recommendations from the superintendent.
I would like for the board to consider a recommendation of 10.01 to 10.14 for approval.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Pardon? Proceed.
Is there a second?
Second. I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
10.01 to 10.14, Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
and Mr. Williams.
Yes.
And I'd like the board to consider the approval of 11.01 to 11.07. Operation matters.
So moved. Support.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
and Mr. Williams.
Yes.
And I'd like the board to consider the approval, recommend the board approve 12.01, other matters.
So moved. Support.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
and Mr. Williams.
Yes. Thank you. Is there any new business for discussion? This time, we would entertain committee reports, requests from board members.
I just want to mention something. It was the stories today about, in today's paper about yesterday's graduation were really good stories in both papers. I've had a lot of Southview alumni ask me if we were going to do with Southview what we did with the 2 former high schools that closed, and that is have a day in which anyone who wanted to could go in and walk the school for the last time.
Oh, certainly,
Do you have any idea when to do that? You do that?
Mr. Ross?
We will probably do that towards the end of the summer, again, right before we would open up the new high school. We would do that, yes.
Okay. There wouldn't be any.
In fact, there is a alumni in June
I thought so, yeah.
that is coming through, why they're all in town.
Maybe you could use that. Could you use that day for the whole town?
That would be a conversation I'll have with the superintendent, absolutely.
Because what happened with Lorain High is it was so delayed, about 5 years after the building actually closed, that there were parts of the building that
You
couldn't go in.
Right,
That did not happen with Admiral King. I think that whole building was not open
correct, yes.
to
there was.
anybody that had the strength, and which wouldn't be me. But so
Yep.
since you're already doing that, maybe that would, if it's possible, maybe that date for the alumni would, and then you wouldn't be in when they're moving furniture. I don't know how much is going to be moved from Southview too.
Yeah. We will definitely.
That's been the tradition, and it's a real positive for the school. And then they get to walk a few months or weeks later through the new one and see firsthand what, because all I've heard of people that go through that new building. I heard it today at breakfast. The former employee, Barb Evans, went through with a group of, you took them through with a group of administrators.
62 retired teachers.
Yeah,
Yes.
but like me, they couldn't make the whole tour. You need those golf carts. But anyway, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, gentlemen, I think Dale had sent out some correspondence regarding our meeting dates.
Yeah, my suggestion is for the spacing, to make our board meetings in June 13th and June 27th. That's okay, everybody? At 6:30 p.m.
That's fine with me.
Everyone's good with that?
Okay.
Before Dale and I had a very short conversation, I think it's something we should remember for the organizational meeting. I think we should go back to the second whatever day and fourth. Bill, you were on the board, you were for a while too, Tim. That first Monday is, you get a lot of holidays, and the closer to the end of the month, I think it's better for financial reporting, isn't it, Dale?
Yeah.
So we can't do that this year. Those would be both special meetings. But in the organizational meeting, I think, since the makeup of the board will not change this next year, we ought to consider going to a second, whether that's Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday. I know the newspapers would prefer it be on any day but Monday, because that's when city council meets. So
Unanimous nodding over there.
Yes, that would help.
so anyway, but that's in January. We have to talk. I have no problem with the 13th and the 27th.
Okay, so then the next board meeting will be on June 13th, right here at 6:30 p.m. And if that's it,
Right before you-
I guess I have a public hearing second. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Ballard.
No, just based on what we've been seeing in the news, especially today out in Anaheim, I think November is going to be a very, very special time during our election year. So I don't know who we would talk to consider November the 8th, if that could be kind of looked at as an in-service day or something of that, because with all of our locations, we're going to have students out there, and with the protests that are going on in this election cycle, we may want to consider that.
It's a great idea. Thank you.
What about it?
It probably only gets crazier.
How about-
I
I think what we ought to do is invite all of the Republican attendees to tour the new high school.
I'll take that under advisement.
All right, well, thank you for that.
Yes,
Is there anybody else who would like to address the board? I kind of skipped over our second public hearing. I didn't think there were any takers. So at this time, I would appreciate or entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call?
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
And Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Adjourned at 7:32.
This has been a production of Lorain City Schools TV 20 WLCS.
To purchase a high-quality copy of the program you just viewed, please call Lorain City Schools Television at 282-8400.